Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Living Ageless and Bold. My question to you, would you take a vacation alone? I'm not sure that I would, but my guest today, Joy Huber, encourages women to stop waiting for everyone else and to learn what she calls, it's actually a life skill to travel solo. She founded Travel with Joy TV, where she helps women create lives filled with freedom, purpose, and experiences. And we're going to learn all about solo travel today. So welcome, Joy.
Thank you so much for having me on with you. I am such a huge fan of your show and enjoyed listening. And I'm like, I got to see if I can be a guest because I hadn't seen where we'd covered solo travel in depth as of yet and wanted to bring that dose of joy for all of your listeners.
Yeah. And you have an interesting story, how you got to this point. And I think that part of your life is really inspiring as well. So let's go back to your 30s and talk about your health scare.
Okay, absolutely. And yes, unfortunately, at the young age, I like to say I'm just 33, I found out I had not only cancer, but stage 4 cancer. And I had lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that put me on an unexpected course. I was asymptomatic, so it wasn't something I was expecting. A loved one had seen kind of a bulge or seemed like one side of my face was a little bit fuller maybe than the other. And when they look at me, they said, "What's going on? You seem to have something." I thought maybe I was just gaining weight. And I said, "Leave me alone. I think I'm getting a little bit fluffier." And they said, "No, don't you see that? It's on one side, not the other." Went to the doctor and long story short, found out lymphoma. And words no one wants to hear. You have cancer. And sadly, way too many of us find that out in life. I think statistics say now 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women do get that diagnosis at some point in their life. So that was very sobering.
Well, and let's just quickly say how old you are now.
Yes, so I'm about to be 50. So I'm about to cross over. So this is now, we're coming up on like 16 years ago that I got that diagnosis. So
that's just, there is hope. So I just want people who are watching and listening. I mean, we're going to talk about solo travel, but when I read that, I was like, wow, that in itself is inspiring and gives hope. But that diagnosis got you shifting your thoughts on life and experiences and tell us, when you realize, hey, I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Now I want to live.
Yeah. Exactly. So I ended up, I would say I'll show this if they're watching, but I ended up authoring a book out of the whole experience, so-called Cancer with Joy, which always grabs people's attention and they say, "What?" And I say, I understand firsthand that no one's happy. They have cancer, but you can have cancer and still be happy. So what I found as I was going through 3 years of chemotherapy, the complete loss of my shoulder-length hair in my low 30s as a single woman trying to date is I found laughter really is the best medicine. And mind over matter, the power of positive thinking, I think really helped, along with prayers and following the doctor's regimen, all of that. But once I determined that I would be okay, I realized I reflected on my life and I thought, why this was so upsetting to me to get that diagnosis? And sorry for the emotion, but I felt like I wasn't ready to die because I knew I hadn't fully lived. And that's what hit me. And that's why I was so upset. I think if I felt I had lived life, there would be more of a peace at, okay, we're all going to pass at some point, and I accept this somewhat because I've lived. but I hadn't lived, Christina. So I thought, I've got to get busy living. And that's what caused this shift and catapulted me into travel because things aren't important to me.
Right. Right. And it's interesting. My husband and I have really raised our kids not so much with gifts, but more with experiences, because those are the things that will stay with you. And I love now that they're young adults, they're starting to do that with their significant others. It's more like, no, let's take a trip for a weekend and, do something really cool instead of, here's something that's going to go sit in your drawer or you're going to, wear it and get rid of it. It doesn't have any meaning to it.
Right. Another collectible that sits on a shelf, a figurine, and you have to dust it and it collects dust. So, and I believe there's a study that actually talks about people get more enjoyment out of experiences and going places and doing things. And I'd actually been a speaker. I had traveled all over doing public speaking, doing seminars or keynotes and workshops. And I realized I've seen a lot of airports. I've seen a lot of hotels. I've seen a lot of oak room, elm room, meeting room, room A.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of that, standing there all day, sharing my knowledge, my experience for the benefit of others. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I got in remission. So I began traveling, and I would ask my family or friends. And a lot of times they would say, I can't get off work. I have payroll that week. That's not a good time for me to be gone. Can we wait until? And I just thought, folks, I have just beat stage 4 cancer. And not to say I don't travel with others, because I do, but I'd like for every woman to add more solo travel to your life. And that's my mission at Travel with Joy TV. And I really do feel like it's a life skill I say that we all need, because I feel like at some point we will all find ourselves on our own. So whether that's a divorce and we choose to be on our own when a relationship ends, whether we become widowed and we lose someone, our partner, and we are alone. And I just don't want women sitting on the sidelines waiting for other schedules to align. Ladies, you can go now and I will show you how.
So what was your first solo trip?
Yeah, so actually one of the trips that I remember very early on, and you're asking a great question because I suddenly find myself getting very vulnerable or more personal. An old boyfriend of mine, we had split up and he'd gotten back together with his childhood or sweetheart, and they were getting married. Of course, I'm not invited to the wedding. And I thought, well, I want to get out of here. I don't even want to be in the area when this happens. And now years later, I look back and laugh because it doesn't even matter. But in the moment, so I thought I'm going to take off, and I live in the Midwest. And so I decided to drive down toward Little Rock, Arkansas, Hot Springs, and do the national park down there, do the historic Bathhouse Row. I wanted to go through Carthage and see the Precious Moments Chapel and spend time there. And so I wasn't planning to go to New York City all on my own, but I remember my family and friends just freaked out because they said, well, who do you know down there? And I said, no one. And they said, well, who's going with you? And I said, no one. And of course, all the lectures and concerns began, and I stressed to them that I was prepared and had a plan. And I think that's one thing so important that women can do is make a plan and think through different scenarios. What would I do if a light came on in the vehicle? Do I have AAA or do I have roadside assistance through my vehicle? And that's one of the things that I help them do.
Yeah. So let's talk, because the first thing I think of is I would be scared to be alone. And you talk about, first of all, deciding on your first solo trip, do you go domestic or international? So what do you recommend?
Right. So, and when I talk to individual women, I typically recommend, if you have no solo travel experience, that you start small. And in fact, I just wrote a blog about this on my page, and I said, hey, stay close to home at first, right? So that way you are pretty close. If you decide you want to go home or if you need to go back for some reason, you're not too far away. So when I work with women, I typically say, hey, we'll get to the bucket list travel and those big trips you want to take, but let's start small. And another great tip is I worked with women where I tell them to go back to a place they've been to before because it will be familiar to you. And you'll be like, oh, yes, Wisconsin Dells. I've been here before, but it was to take the kids to the water parks, or I remember my husband wanted to go golfing or whatever. And this time I get to go to the spa. I get to do what I want. And that's why it's so exciting when you're on your own.
So and I, like you, travel a lot for speaking. So I'm used to being alone in an airport, eating alone in a restaurant. But I find, like with some of my girlfriends, that even going to a movie by themselves, I have some friends who are like, I don't care. I want to see that movie, or I want to go see it again. But some people, like, how do you get over that?
Right. So, what I do is I dig into with women when they say they're scared or they can't. I'm like, let's talk about this, because of course, as coaches, we believe that you are the expert on you, and we are just here to ask the right questions to guide you through the process and to surface the answers that might be buried deep within. So I was trained through Coach U and have experience in strategizing with clients, or listening, questioning, and acknowledging. So when they say they're scared or they can't, I'm like, that's interesting. What exactly are you scared of? Why exactly can't you do this? And we cover barriers that surface. Sometimes even with women dining alone, they're like, well, everyone will be looking at me. And I'm like, who cares? Do you know these people? Will you see them ever again? Chances are no. So I have found I take a good book or a magazine. A lot of people will scroll or play on their phone. And another thing I have found is if I feel like someone is staring, I just look up and make eye contact with them and smile. And of course, when you make eye contact, they're probably going to look away. They won't continue staring, but you just exchange a smile and it kind of says, I'm here doing this on my own. I'm good. Don't worry about me. But I find, like I said, digging into those fears. A lot of women, their top fear is that they will be not necessarily attacked, but approached, or maybe someone will try to take my bag, take my purse, knock me down if they don't see a guy with me.
Well, listen, from the woman who had her purse stolen on the Paris subway, let me tell you, it goes so fast you don't even know. Like I literally had the purse, the Bagolini purse, that you can't cut, it's the safety purse. So I had my phone in there, but we had clients. We were doing a lot of pictures and videos. So I had my hand on my phone all the time. Well, I had my sunglasses on my head because I'm in the subway. I had my ticket in one hand. Mm-hmm. The subway goes to stop. My glasses start to fall. I let go of the phone, grab my glasses, step out. Phone is gone. Didn't feel it, didn't know it. So ladies, nobody's going to knock you over the head to steal your purse. It's going to happen so fast, you're not even going to know. That's how they work.
And they were watching you maybe as a potential target, and they were looking for that moment of vulnerability. And that's what happens sometimes is they're working in pairs and someone bumps you and then the other person. So I'm going to show you. So I hope women are watching online or go online. And if not, I'll talk through it. But this is one of my big travel secrets. So I call it a wrist wallet. I'm not sure that that's the exact correct term, but what I can do is just slip this onto my wrist, and it goes on my wrist. And a lot of times people will think I've injured my wrist and they're not messing with me. But in here is a pouch, and I have hit the streets in Vegas or cities with this. Anyway, I have this little pouch where I could slip my ID, my health insurance card, a credit card, $10 if I'm taking a tour and I need tip money or I want a little bit of cash. And again, I just slip that onto my wrist, and then there's a pouch, and I have the essentials here. I've slipped hotel room keys in, and that is a great way to go without a purse. And another tip, I'm full of so many tips that help
Yeah.
women, but another tip is I tell women, of course, don't dress maybe super flashy, or when you're on your own, you want to dress more modestly. So, for example, I would remove jewelry. I wouldn't wear the rings or the big jewelry, earrings, necklaces.
I do have a question about that though. Should you, if you're traveling alone, whether you're single, married, and I have like a fake ring that I'll take when I travel, but do you recommend like single women, if that's not what they're interested in, they're not looking for love or anything like that, they're just really trying to take a trip, should they wear a quote unquote wedding band?
I have actually done that before just to kind of fend off, if they look and they see a ring on your finger. So you can try that if that will make you feel more comfortable. Again, I wouldn't do a real big bauble or a big item, but I would do something that's really modest. But typically, like if I'm going out in a big city, like a Las Vegas, a Chicago, even in New York City or San Francisco, is I'm dressed really modest. I've got my phone in my hand, maybe tight grip, or maybe you keep that in a pouch. But I'm carrying a bottle of water. I have a few essentials in the wrist wallet, and I'm just wearing a t-shirt, sandals. I mean, nothing flashy.
You're blending in.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, everyone leaves me alone. I don't have any problems. Another thing, you want to have a confident look about you. So if you need to practice that, you don't want to have this, I don't know where I'm, this
Right.
scared. And so you do want to have a confident look, and don't be playing on your phone where you're easily distracted and looking down. So that's where I gather myself or make my plan in my room. And I'm going to share a big tip with your listeners is, have you ever taken a self-defense class?
Right. I have not, but I read that in your materials. I was like, that's just to know the basics of, but real quickly, I want to talk about this confidence thing you said, because that's, even if you don't, not just being alone, if you're with your kids or your spouse or your girlfriends, right, anything. I was speaking at an event. I had a driver, and I was in New York City after COVID, and he was retired, or not retired. He was active NYPD and then also drove. And I said, listen, is the subway as bad as the media is making it out to be? And he said exactly what you said. He goes, keep your head up, be confident. Don't look at your phone. Don't be distracted, but act like you know where you're going, what you're doing. And he's like, people will leave you alone. You won't have any problems.
Exactly. Excellent advice. And I appreciate you saying that they reinforced what I hear or what my tips. Another thing I've read is maybe ladies don't have your hair pulled back or in a ponytail, because I've read that can make it easier for them to grab you, from behind and to pull you. And so I think about that too. But I took a self-defense class. I was actually working with a woman, and that was just her number one. She kept saying, but Joy, I'm scared. I'm just scared. And I said, what are you so afraid of? Let's dig into this. And it came back, if she could just take a course. I said, I will take it with you. We took it together and learned some tips and some confidence building. And so, for example, one takeaway from that is the elbow is one of the strongest points on your body. And our instructor said, of course, with men, a lot of women think, well, maybe I could just knee them kind of in the groin area, and that will cause a lot of them immediate pain, or basically they'll probably double over. That will distract them. But we would practice in the self-defense class, like bend over and mess with your luggage or pretend that you're getting something out of the bag. And the instructor would come up to us, grab our shoulders, pull us back and say, give me your money. And then we had practice as far as what to do. And she taught us throw an elbow back, if you can catch their windpipe or kind of knock their, or even in the face. I mean, if they're approaching me or grabbing me, it's all holds barred and I'm going to fight like crazy. So, because that's the other thing. A lot of times if you put up a fight, they want an easy target and they're going to leave you alone if you start kicking and elbowing and screaming and all of that.
We have an episode with Stephanie Tsai, so you guys can look at it. And she is a self-defense expert and talking about things like, put an obstacle. If you're uncomfortable, like you're walking with your suitcase and you think someone's following you, put a car between you. And if you need help, like be really specific. Like I would look right at you in the eyes, this 6'4", built like a football player, dark hair, dark eyes is following me. Call 911. Give that description. Like you tell them everything, which I never thought of.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah. 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 There's times I have walked with a modest shoulder bag and I'll walk up against the storefronts, or I'm not walking with my bag more on the street where they can run by and grab that and take off running. So I'm bumped up against the storefront with my bag. So another thing that surfaced for a lot of women is they have a tough time going to sleep at night, where they're uncomfortable in a strange place. And that's where I said, look at where you're booking, look at the reviews, look at the ratings for the place, maybe contact the host and ask questions about safety or what they offer. But I have also bought one of these, a door alarm. And I know there are things that you can purchase where you could just turn this on and, of course, slide this under your door. And I won't depress it during our session. But if the door were opened, that would have a very loud, shrill noise, again, drawing attention and detracting them. But I will tell you, I traveled for over 2 decades now on my own, a lot more after cancer, and I have never had any problems. So
I was just going to ask you what the statistics, I would guess, are very slim. You're pick a safe place to go. I don't know that I would go to the Middle East right now where we've got, this conflict going on. And I always joke that I had a company, I think it was Saudi Arabia, and they wanted to hire me to come there. It was a PR company and train their employees. And I said, I'll be arrested before I even get to your office. Like, I am such a Western woman that I know I will dress wrong. I will say something wrong. I will look at somebody wrong. I'm like, that is for me personally. I saw the red flags in that for me. So it's be smart where you go.
Exactly. And with those types of scenarios, maybe you could offer a virtual presentation where these days with people globally distributed, we can all gather and share screens like this. So another great tip that women have loved that I've worked with is I tell them, if you're really scared as you get started, why don't you go out during the day? And then why don't you stay in at night and make that a real retreat for you? Because every woman I've talked to has a show they want to watch or stream, a movie, a book. They don't have time to get to it with their spouse, with their career, with the kids, all the things. And so every woman I've worked with has been like, that is an excellent idea. I could just get takeout. I could go back to my room. You run a hot bath. You pour a glass of wine or make a cup of hot tea, whatever your thing is. And you finally get to do what you want. And ladies, it's amazing what you'll find in those moments of peace and quiet and reflection. I like to take a journal when it gets quiet. I turn on Pandora, a station that's chill, and just sit there. And sometimes a new solution comes to me for a problem that I'm dealing with. Sometimes a different perspective comes to me. And I'm like, when I go home, I'm going to do this differently. And I never would have thought of it in the day-to-day craziness of keep going. But when you stop and take a step back, so solo travel is just so valuable for women in terms of fulfillment, freedom, but fun too. So
do you recommend, when you're talking about safety and eating in, staying in, do you recommend a hotel over a short-term rental, like an Airbnb, just because you've got the hotel and the rooms and the staff? And is that a safer alternative?
Right. And here's why I love to talk to women individually to learn like their experience and to really customize their session. But a lot of times, yes, if you can find a hotel that's right in the midst of some attractions of a city and it's very walkable and you can walk short distance, well, what does that cut out? The need to take an Uber. Because I guess one incident does come to mind where I took an Uber and the driver made me kind of uncomfortable and they were taking me somewhere And they were like, let me just give you my number and you could call me and I'll come pick you up, from this festival or this light thing at night, and I'll take you back to your hotel. And I thought, why would I do that? Because then it's off the grid of the Uber and they can't track it. And they were trying to tell me that they make more money that way if they can just go directly, like they kind of cut out Uber or their share. But I thought, I'm very uncomfortable with that. And so I'll tell you my tip. What I did there is when I went to order my return Uber from the Light Festival, I ordered a different class of vehicle. So meaning if I was in like a compact car and I knew this person was driving a compact, I ordered like an extra large or whatever Uber. And I think it was like $8 more. And I thought, my safety is well worth investing a few. And so somebody pulled up in this huge, and I looked, and had I gotten the same driver, I would have canceled the ride, because you can always do that too. But I got somebody different and they pulled up and I said, oh, it's just me. I go, my friends aren't ready to go yet. But I said, I'm headed back to this hotel. And like I said, you think fast. And that's where we talk through all those scenarios when I work with women and we're prepared for what to do. So another tip that women can do is if they're just starting, you go somewhere close. Maybe you've driven your own car. And then you're not dealing with like flights and navigating airport because you might get trip delays or cancellations. And then you land and it's late at night and you're trying to get your rental car. And then you're going, how did the windshield wipers work? I'm so used to my car. So that's where I recommend they drive somewhere close to begin. But to begin, what if you incorporated some group tours? 2. So just because you go to this place on your own, for example, I went down into Dallas and it's like, it doesn't mean I have to do everything on my own. And so I thought, if I'm driving, it's very hard for me to get pictures and enjoy it all. And so I signed up for one of those tours where you meet in a square, they take you around, you can get all the photos and videos. They're giving you the lay of the land. And you can also ask that local guide, doing a me thing, a solo thing, what are some of the districts that you would stay out of? What are some of the places that might work really well for me? And you get those local tips.
I always ask, again, traveling a lot for speaking, and I like to work out outside, and I always ask the concierge, is it safe? How far can I go? Sometimes in cities, you could go to here, but once you cross over,
right.
So just ask. The people are always, that's why I like the hotel part of it, because you do have all of the access to all the people there in the hotel who can help you
there. And of course, I love the hotels if you can find them where you get on the elevator and you have to scan your room key in order to go up to a floor. And so I love those too. So yeah, for sure. You can look for those safety. But yeah, I know a lot of women, they'll be like baby steps. I'm going to get in the car by myself. Okay, I'm going to drive by myself. I'm going to do this. But when I get there, I don't know that I'm ready to hit the streets on my own. And that's where they'll join that group tour and get comfortable. And then they find out about a cool place, or they're like, oh, yes, I'm a shopper. I'm definitely going to get in the car and go back here and buy my spices, or whatever their thing is.
Right. No, that's such a great idea. So tell me, what was the one place that you went solo that was your biggest surprise?
Oh, that is a great question. So I will tell you, so I've gotten more advanced as I've solo traveled more, and I'm like, what else can I do? Where else can I? And I will tell you, I do love staying in the U.S. So I really specialize with women domestically in the U.S. If you are going abroad, I would have you check the State Department or the website for any travel alerts or travel warnings. And I've been over to Europe, but I feel like there's so many places to see in the United States. But I decided to take a train trip solo on Amtrak several years ago. And those places were very unexpected. So I flew into Burbank instead of LAX. So we have family in the Burbank area, and we've always flown into Burbank, and realized that Amtrak is right there at the Bob Hope Airport. So you can fly in and literally get on the train and go. But I took one. I had so much fun up the Pacific coast. and it stopped in, I probably won't say it right, but Paso Robles. And oh my goodness, the train stopped and I was able to walk from where the train to my hotel or the inn there. And I joined some tours that would take me around to wineries, but just a little charming, adorable area where I felt totally safe, walkable, all of that. And then I reboarded the train, continued up the coast, which was fabulous to see the water. And I went into San Francisco. And that was a great surprise destination. So now the train doesn't go to San Francisco. The train went to Emeryville, and then you get on a bus and go across the Golden Gate into San Francisco. But there I joined a hop-on, hop-off tour, which is a great way to,
I love the hop. If I'm in quick in a city, 3 hours, just you learn everything. I always recommend that to people.
Right. I do too. You're ready to solo travel outside of work. And that's another thing is a lot of women I work with, they realize they're closer than they think. And a lot of women who book my individual coaching session, they're like, I knew I just needed to talk to someone who would just help me build my confidence, who would just pour encouragement into me. I am someone that wants every one of you ladies out there to succeed and to live life fully. And sadly, sometimes we find our friends and family don't feel the same. So what I have found is sometimes friends or family, if they can't travel, they may not want to encourage you to go because they feel left behind. And sometimes that jealousy or that envy rears its head. And so I've talked to women and they're like, I'm so glad I talked to you because you're just for me. And my friends were like trying to naysay and put all these doubts in my head. But yes, the hop-on, hop-offs, I always recommend. I was just in Nashville and did that. But San Francisco, again, a bigger city solo, and I found it to be such a gem. I boarded a Gray Line bus and they take you out to wine country. And so I could get my drink on, my buds on. And of course, you're on the bus. And so you get on the bus and you're a little tipsy. And it's like, well, let's take a little snooze here on the way back into San Francisco. But I was walking around by the pier. And that's another thing I work with women on is, do you want to plan everything or do you want to leave some time open for the unexpected and some surprises? And I try to do some of both. So I plan things to look forward to, but I happen to have the evening open, getting back from my wine tour. And my plan was to go back to my room and pack because I had to head to the airport early the next morning. Well, it was a beautiful night and I was walking around and I thought, I am having a great time. And they were selling a sunset cruise, go out, sail by the Golden Gate or sail out by Alcatraz. And I was able to do that impromptu. And so San Francisco was a really fun destination.
That's great to know. So as we wrap up, I want to ask you, you've lived quite a life since your cancer diagnosis. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell 33-year-old Joy?
Oh, goodness. Oh, you just gave me chills and goosebumps with that. So, yes. So the clock is ticking and we never know. I mean, sadly, we are all a car accident away. I mean, life could totally change. A heart attack, a cancer diagnosis away from a completely different life. So I talk to women that say, I'll go when the kids are off to college, or I'll go when I'm retired. I'll have more money. Well, hopefully I'll have a little more money then, but I don't know what my health will be. So I would definitely tell 33-year-old, you need to go now. Do not delay. The clock is ticking. And know that there are resources out there to help you. I have a free blog on my website at travelwithjoytv.com where women can get information. They can sign up for a newsletter and get those tips and encouragement. It'll come right to your inbox. It'll be delivered to your email. But I would definitely say don't delay, because I think there's a song out there called Don't Blink that Kenny Chesney sung. Right. And it says life moves faster than you think. And it really does. You're now 50s, so. Right.
No, that's all great. And we'll have all of your information in the show notes so people can sign up. We'll have your book in there, and make sure to share this episode. I've learned a lot. I feel a lot more comfortable. Who knows? I might be trying some solo travel that's not business related, or maybe add on a day or two when I do that.
I love it. I'm so happy I moved you. That's my goal during my coaching sessions, to move you across that needle from how comfortable are you booking to how ready are you to book. So
to do it. Right. And a lot of people are not, like you said, they're not doing it. So check out all of Joy's information and let me know where you travel solo. Thanks, Joy.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.